pretty much every penny that we'll raise will deploy into buying Bitcoin. We still operate a kind of small mining arm, and we will continue to do that because it gives us a kind of lower dollar cost average when it comes to acquiring Bitcoin. But predominantly, we want to aggressively buy Bitcoin as fast as we can and build up our balance sheet just with Bitcoin holdings.
Welcome back inside our proactive newsroom. And joining me now is Huey Rattray. He is the CEO of Vinans Limited. And Huey, it's good to see you. How are you?
I'm really good, thanks, Steve. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so the company out with news today, looking to raise about a million pounds in total. So let's talk a little bit about Bitcoin, because I know that's what the company's all about, and you're really offering people an opportunity to get into the Bitcoin market really through the public markets here.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly what we want to do. We want to provide investors with a safe and public market accessible way to access Bitcoin. The way that we do that is we buy Bitcoin for our balance sheet, and we try to get the company to a point where it tracks the Bitcoin price accurately. And if you think about the advantages or the kind of regulatory clarity on holding stocks rather than crypto assets, it's a lot easier for people to hold a stock like ours in, their 401k or their pension or their ISA or their whatever tax efficient wrapper there is. And then there's this whole pool of global capital that can only invest on the stock exchange, isn't mandated to invest in digital assets, doesn't have the custody arrangement to invest in digital assets. So yeah, like what we're creating here is something that's been created successfully around the world and it's become a very popular type of vehicle. So yeah, we want to emulate that, and we're very much on our way.
Yeah, so the offering is through the Winterflood Retail Access Platform, what they call WRAP. So maybe you could talk to us a little bit about using this as a fundraising mechanism.
Yeah, so the wrap is a really efficient way to raise capital, and it's a really scalable way to raise capital. And what it does is it gives retail investors access to deals and cap raises that would only usually be accessible for institutions. It gives them access at a competitive price, and it kind of gets them in, it democratizes the kind of deals that you see in the city. And yeah, it's a very good way to build out our share register and kind of expand our shareholder base.
Yeah, you're on the London Stock Exchange. Is there an advantage for that specific exchange over some others like the Aquis?
Yeah, so being on the LSE opens the door to kind of more complex structured and funding products. And, it gives us a lot more free roam in terms of the kind of capital that we can raise and the products that are available to us. Companies do very well on Aquis, and, there's a couple of companies that are quite like us that are raising a ton of equity on Aquis, a ton of money via issuing equity on Aquis, but they're quite limited in terms of different products that they can offer, like these ATM equity taps that MicroStrategy do in America. As far as I know, you can't do that on Aquis. We can do that on the London Stock Exchange. And then there's a bunch of convertible secured notes that aren't also available on Aquis, but can do on the London Stock Exchange. So we are on the LSE really because it gives us this variety of products, and it, allows us to kind of be a bit more choosy when it comes to how we raise capital.
I know that you're rebranding the company to London BTC Company Limited, and that really trying to build something here. And maybe you could talk a bit more about that and this treasury of Bitcoin and the importance of it, especially with the pricing that we've seen over the last little while. And Bitcoin continues to rise.
Yeah, so calling ourselves the London Bitcoin Company, I think it's just very apt and to the point. And, I think I want to attract a lot of American capital at the same time as, tapping up the UK retail crowd and UK institutional crowd. And I think naming your company is a super important thing in the capital markets, and having a relevant name is equally as important. And it's just a reflection of what we're going to become and what we kind of are on our way to becoming right now, which is the London Bitcoin Company.
Yeah. Can you talk to me a bit about Bitcoin itself? And we saw some volatility in it, but it seems to really starting to stabilize and just increase in value as the months roll on here, especially after the halving happened. So are you seeing good things ahead for Bitcoin?
Yeah, so I've had a long journey in Bitcoin that's kind of pushing on 12 years now, I think. And the kind of market has changed significantly since then. And I remember the first real good run we had on it in 2017. There was a lot of people trying to take it down, like a lot of really credible finance guys, Jamie Dimon, Warren Buffett, were all chiming in with really negative, bearish comments on the asset. And now, it seems like the capital markets globally have accepted it as an asset class. And it's really interesting to see people flip and people admit that they were wrong. And as we know with most investment asset classes, when the capital markets get involved, they don't do it in a small way, right? Like everyone goes really deep on this stuff and everyone starts deploying a lot of capital to this stuff. And they see it as this speculative asset, which is good because I think that brings a whole load of liquidity and a whole load of uplift in the price. So, the way I see Bitcoin now is kind of it's kind of graduated from what it was before, which was this anarchic kind of alternative, anti-government, anti-state currency. And now people are seeing it as a realistic store of value and a hedge against inflation, a hedge against fiat currency. And yeah, I think it's great to see where it's come in that past 12 years since I've been in it. And if you told me this in 2013 that this is where we've been now, I wouldn't have believed you at all. I thought it would take much longer for this kind of adoption.
Yeah. And lastly, Huey, just once this wrap program is wrapped up, you'll be able to obviously put that capital within the company to fuel your growth, and that's by acquiring machines and things like that. Is that really what people should know about this capital is really using to rev those engines?
Yeah, so I mean, pretty much every penny that we'll raise will deploy into buying Bitcoin. We still operate a kind of small mining arm, and we will continue to do that because it gives us a kind of lower dollar cost average when it comes to acquiring Bitcoin. But predominantly, we want to aggressively buy Bitcoin as fast as we can and build up our balance sheet just with Bitcoin holdings.
Huey, thank you so much. Great to see you, and look forward to hearing more about this as the months roll on. Okay.
Thank you so much, Steve. Bye bye.
All right. There's Huey Rattray. He's the CEO of Vinans Limited.